TikTok, it's time to rock. You guys may have noticed something really, really interesting there. We put on a different intro to the 5150 show. We have to do it. We've got to do it. We've got to do our special shout out to our brother Brad, the backdoor man cook. Bro, yeah. We know you're watching. We want to give you, brother, our deepest regards. We're sending you our prayers and our thoughts, bro. Get well. Come back. We miss you. Hoss, what do you reckon? When's he going to come back?
Well, Brad's a pretty fit dude. I mean, he's going to be a bit less fit for not carrying my quad boxes into the corner hotel, but he's still pretty fit. And, and he's got a beautiful, strong spirit too. So I think he'll be back pretty soon. But yeah, like Brad, if you're watching this, all our thoughts and hugs are with you, brother. Get well. And rest up and, clock Netflix. Use the time well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Go back to the channel, bro. Go back and watch all the videos on this channel. That's your homework.
Actually, no, Andrew, we can do better than that. We can give him some real homework and get him to index into chapters so we can put in the description the times codes of all the videos.
Oh my gosh. Job done. But look,
get to it, Brad. Get to it.
It's good to see you guys. We're back here for a 5150 show. Obviously, my name is Andrew. I'm from Hamilton, New Zealand. Up here with me, we've got Chris Hunter, who's been on the show a few times. He's filling in for Brad. He's from Auckland, New York. We've got Hoss downstairs. And we've got our very, very special guest all the way from Texas. He's a Texan. He's a Van Halen nut. And he's a young cat, and he's going to tell us all about his story. Braden, good to see you, brother.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for being on the show.
Hoss, we've got something else also to talk about on the channel before we get into the channel proper. So everybody and anybody who is aware of the Van Halen community on YouTube this week understands the sad situation we've had with the passing of Dave Nesdale. So
yeah,
we want to dedicate this show to the memory of Dave Nesdale. We've got a show planned at the end of this month, a proper tribute for Dave Nesdale with one of his friends, Rob Johnson, joining us. So we're going to talk about the Ernie Ball Music Man. In fact, guys, it was only Sunday, New Zealand time, that I was talking to Dave Nesdale in preparation for that show, and Dave was looking forward to doing that show with Rob Johnson and us. So a couple of days later, he passed away. Look, we've got to say it, don't we? If anybody that's been following a few YouTube channels over the years understands that Dave is a giant when it comes to EVH guitars, but not just that, Hoss, Chris, and Braden, and everyone in the chat, just guitars generally. So on behalf of me, I want to pass on my condolences to Dave and his family. And, we'll be talking about Dave Nesdale for a long time. Hoss.
Yeah, we will for sure. Look, I only in the last 12 months through these YouTube communities and podcasts and stuff did I sort of become aware of Dave Nesdale, and the two of us obviously didn't really know each other, only through acknowledging each other online, just as much as that. But I'll say this, it's the last week after, his passing was really a shock. I don't know any of the backstory if he was like very ill for a while, but I know that it was, and like you said, Andrew, you're only just talking to him the other day. Definitely, it's sort of hard to explain, but even that I didn't really know him, I can feel in the community the loss and the warmth with everybody has spoken about Dave in the last week on various forums is so beautiful to see. And, without sort of sounding too cosmic and blah, 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 rah, rah, my belief is that it doesn't matter what you do in life. It doesn't matter whether you're a guitarist or a mechanic or a painter. None of those things actually really matter. What really matters is, did you make the human beings around you happier than without you? And therefore, did you leave the world a better place after you're gone? And it's very clear to me that Dave absolutely did that. The warmth and love with which, and the stories that everybody's been telling, with humor and laughs, and it's very clear that he will be missed. It's very clear that that his being here was, a good thing, and that it touched people, and he's left the world a better place, like I said. So, so my warmest hugs and thoughts and love go to Desiree, of course, and any of Dave's family, and to his very, very close friends. Yeah, it's really sad, and it's that it's very sad, because even that I didn't know him, I can feel it from the community, and it makes me sad even just talking about it. But he seemed like a super sweet guy, and so my thoughts are with him and the family. So, one thing is for sure, it doesn't matter what you believe, whether you're religious or not, or you believe in reincarnation or not, and all those other things. Wherever Eddie went when he went, Dave is in the same place. So him and Eddie will now be hanging out, truly swapping guitars and stuff. So that makes me smile to think of him doing that.
God bless you, brother. Look, I agree with you, and I think it's one of the great things about our community that we can get together and celebrate Dave's determined style. I certainly learnt a lot from Dave over the years. He was always happy to pass on information. He was responsible for helping me upgrade. Where am I? Upgrade this 5150. He gave me some tips on what to do with that. He was also, guys, responsible for helping me. Here's my finger. Buy that Music Man Axis and what to look out for. I'll never forget that, and he spoke to me a couple of times. We'd been trying to get him on the show for a while, guys, but he had a couple of issues. Dave wasn't well for a while. Plus, he was doing his own stuff too, guys. So that was always important, that he was going to do his own channel. And he's left some great videos there. But, thank you, Hoss. You said some nice words. I know that Braden, too, wants to say something because he's been following him, too. So, Braden, here's your opportunity to do your eulogy for Dave Nesdale, buddy.
I'm not very good with words. I usually speak through my guitar, but I think Dave really helped out with the EVH community a lot, just by sharing his information with guitars and the gear that Ed used. And the reason I got really deep into the whole EVH geek stuff, if you want to call it that, I got into it because of David Nesdale. I joined Johnny Bean's stream one time, and he was in there, and he was just talking away about EVH gear, and it really taught me a lot about the stuff he used and everything else like that. And I just think that he was a very big part of that community. He really cherished every moment in that community. But my condolences to his friends and his family. And that's what I have to say about David Nesdale. So
awesome. That's wonderful, Braden. And Dave would be happy because he liked it. He liked it, Hoss and Chris, when young cats were being inspired by the music that stirred us 30 years ago. He often spoke about it. So, we've been lucky to have a couple of young people on and talk about their experiences. And certainly Braden's going to talk about his experiences, how he got into Van Halen a little bit later. But I noticed that Chris hasn't been saying much. Chris is going to be saying something soon. But I just want to please, guys, give me one more opportunity to do one special shout out. Helene, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. She's 29 again. We wish her all the best and keep out of trouble.
That's what we all try and do. Doesn't always work, but we try.
No.
Yeah, we try.
For the
Chris.
people that might not know, can any of us give us a little bit of background about the stuff that he contributed to in the world of guitars, and especially Mr. Van Halen?
Yeah, go for it, Andrew. That's a good thing.
Oh, look, I suppose quickly. Hey, Nina, good to see you. Hoss is going to do a shout out soon to all you guys. He's busy. He's busy making sure that he's not going to skip anyone's names.
I'm not skipping anyone. I promise.
Yeah. This show's never a skip. It's never a skip.
Yeah, people in the chat are never a skip. That's right. Exactly. Yeah.
Look, Chris, I suppose the best thing we can do is just say go and look at Dave Nesdale's channel for a starter and go and have a look. Go through his videos. I'm really happy and glad that the last Van Halen show that Dave Nesdale did was on Fruitcake Tony's show, and they dissected the 5150 guitar. Now, that video is going to be, we often talk about videos being research pieces for future generations of Van Halen and musicologists, but that Van Halen episode certainly will be, because the panel on Fruitcake Tony's show discussing this guitar, where it came from, what happened, where it went, Chris, is just phenomenal. The amount of detail, the attention to detail that these guys had was fantastic. So for Dave to be part of that and give that to, as his legacy, the last show, he was surrounded by people who were truly friends of his and celebrated his legacy and gave him also the recognition that he needed to know that, he was an authority. Well, he didn't need to know that, but we need people to know that they are leaders, that they are authority figures, that they do have knowledge, and Dave Nesdale certainly is that guy, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're right, Andrew. But as more than that, though, it's one thing to have knowledge, but Dave was so giving in sharing it. Everything that I had come to see from him or know of him was that his favorite thing was to share all that knowledge that he had accumulated and all those intimate stories with Ed and all that stuff. Like, he didn't keep any of it to himself. He wanted everyone to know the same things he did. And, I've heard about all the incredible guitar setups that he would do for people and stuff like that. So, I think it's the sharing of the knowledge that that makes him extra special,
Awesome. Bro, do you want to do a shout out? And by the way, thank you, everybody. Thank you. If you've been following us on other social media links, our channel has reached another milestone. And it's a credit to the content of the channel. It's a credit to our hosts, our guest hosts. It's a credit to the people we've interviewed. And it's a credit to everybody in the chat, our family, the 5150 fam, who go and share our links on their social media accounts. We're over 2,000 subscribers.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, everybody, for sure. And well-deserved, Andrew. Well-deserved. It's, it's a lot of hard work that goes into it, and quality.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, bro.
Well, I'll do some shout outs at the end because I know people will join in during the chat. But for now, I would like to shout out to Tim Thomas, Mikey Mojo. How you doing, Mikey, brother? Robert Ranford, Johnny Bean. Hey, Johnny. Hey, now. Teresa, all the way in Brazil. Helene. Happy birthday, Helene, of course. So extra special. Keith Campbell. How you doing, legend? Paulie Walnut. John ZD, who looks like he's going to be replacing Brad in loading in my 4x12 cabs into the corner hotel. So John and I haven't caught up face-to-face as yet, but we will be soon, and I'll be checking those biceps. Fruitcake Tony, how you doing, legend? Charmaine, and special shout-out to anyone in the UK because it is 3:30 in the morning. The worst time. It's too late to be up late and it's too early to be up early. So special props. Stevie O, Gretch Zeppelin. Hey, Gretch. Dan of New Jersey. Nelson Rodriguez, Greg Brown. Hey, Greggy. Greg actually is an old colleague of mine that used to do engineering front of house for Tommy Emmanuel. So we got some royalty in the chat there. Nina, of course. Hello, Nina. And Guitar Man 45.
Oh, fantastic.
Thanks, everybody, for joining in. And I'll do another shout out at the end.
Awesome, bro. Hey,
we got the legendary Jason Tong just joining us in the chat as well.
Yeah.
And another Australian. And if you haven't checked out Headfirst Amplifiers, please go to the website and check it out. And there's also a great chat if you want to get to know Jason more on Tone Talk. So they had him on and they were deep diving into all things amplification and guitars and stuff. So check that out if you haven't seen that as well. And actually, Jason's going to be coming to the Corner Hotel, so we're gonna get to catch up there.
Awesome. Bro, before we talk about the Corner Bar gig and you're going to give us a bit of a tour on some of your gear, this might be a good opportunity for us to have a bit of a chat with Brandon, and he can tell us about how he discovered Eddie Van Halen. We always want to hear that, don't we?
Yeah, I'd like to hear that too.
All right, so how I discovered Van Halen was I was 6 years old, just scrolling through my mom's laptop on YouTube, just doing whatever 6-year-olds do, and I found this video because at the time I was into the Blue Angels, the jet demonstration team, and there's this one YouTube video on the VH1. It was Dreams, and I watched that all the way through, and I just fell in love with it. And later on, when I picked up guitar, I rediscovered it, and I found out the artist was Van Halen. And whenever I searched it up, I found EVH's solo from the Live Without a Net concert, and I watched the entire thing. It was just absolutely there's no words to really describe how I felt, because it was just that life-changing moment for me. And later on, I started learning Van Halen riffs on the guitar, and eventually I put in EVH Wolfgang pickup in here.
Nice.
In my Strat, and VH just kind of became an obsession for me, and it really gave me something to connect with.
Always does,
I guess you could say. A lot of the songs from the Dave era I really, really loved, and the Sammy era I love very, very much, because it's what got me into Van Halen. And then all the other eras past the Sammy era was just, I don't know. There's no words to describe that either, because it's all just amazing. And you can see how Van Halen progresses with every album. Like from Van Halen to 1984, you can see the progression throughout those albums. And then even later with Sammy stuff, they just really progress in songwriting. And I was just so fascinated by how they went from song to song and the mood changes. And so
cool. Hey, let me ask you something, Braden. My entry to Van Halen was through the Roth era stuff first, and then Sammy Hagar, sort of, chronologically in the order that it happened. So given that your entry point was actually Dreams, you were saying, and the Sammy Hagar stuff, what was your feeling and what was your initial reaction to when you first then went back and looked at the Roth stuff? Because it's pretty different, isn't it?
Yeah. When I look back at the Roth stuff, it was just at first I was very surprised, because it went from this very heavily kind of chorus sound to this more hard rocking distortion. And when I heard that, because that time whenever I rediscovered Van Halen, I was really into that hard driving sound that a lot of the bands have, like who else? Motley Crue at the time, AC/DC, and whenever I discovered the Roth Era, I was like, this is the stuff, man. Because when I first listened to "Ain't Talking About Love" with the arpeggio at the beginning, with the echo in the back and the Marshall full blast stuff, I was just like, I felt that was really the turning point and the first time I really started obsessing with the band afterwards. So.
Such an interesting topic. Getting I don't know you guys, but getting somebody who didn't come in with the Dave stuff and has gone back to it and hearing it that way.
Yeah. I know. I find that fascinating too. I find it really interesting, but I also find it interesting that, like I can imagine at the time, I was sort of still pretty young. The swap of singer didn't really like affect me because I wasn't like a slightly older, like long-time fan that had already been buying records, if that makes sense. So because I was only 12 years old, but I can imagine that change of singer would have been really tricky for people that got used to Roth Era, that flamboyance and the showmanship and the entertainer value of Roth, to then go to the more like, you know, a singer's singer of Sammy Hagar, you know, but without that vaudeville kind of Vegas thing. And so it's interesting, Braden, hearing that it equally worked well, starting with Sammy and going back to Roth, and that Roth wasn't weird. You know, I find that really interesting, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. There's just something about the Roth Era that really caught my eye a lot more than the Sammy stuff. Of course, I love every era of Van Halen, but I always tend to lean back to the Roth side, and specifically the album Fair Warning and also VH1 as well. Those albums I gravitate more than a lot of the VH material.
All the guitar players love Fair Warning.
I love it. So, Braden, you were mentioning before about your like a handful of your favorite songs. So, just out of curiosity, out of the Roth Era stuff, if you had to pick like say 4 or 5 favorite songs, what would they be?
First one would be "Ain't Talking About Love." Actually, let's scratch that. It would be "Unchained," and then "Ain't Talking About Love." And then afterwards it'd be DOA. And then,
I love DOA. That's kind of like a deep cut, and no one talks about it much, but it's a killer.
Yeah. I'm kind of disappointed they didn't really like play it in the later years.
No, they didn't.
It would have been such a fun tune to play.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Then afterwards it'd be "Why Can't This Be Love?" And I'm trying to think what else. I would probably have to go with "Little Dreamer."
Oh, nice choice.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. I actually wouldn't have expected that, but that's a really cool track. And it was never one of my favorites to listen to, but when I learned it to do the Melbourne Guitar Show thing a few years back, I actually kind of fell in love with it. It's a really cool song, and it's really fun to play on guitar, and it's just got this cruisy, you know, the smokiness of David Lee Roth's voice can fully come out in a slow song like that with space in it. You know, we all know he does the screams and all of that stuff, but that almost sort of Sinatra sort of jazz smokiness comes. It's great. I love it. It's a good choice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, Sandra, thanks for joining us. Look, I think one of the great things though about Van Halen, from my perspective, guys, is that, you know, if you can see the progression and also take steps back and see the connection, it's fantastic. And I liked it when Braden said that he loves all parts of Van Halen, and I think that's probably the best way to describe it. All parts of Van Halen. I think that's what Van Halen is for me. It's parts of this thing, Van Halen. And, you know, we look forward to more parts being added to it, Hoss and Chris, because I'm sure there's going to be, you know. Could you consider Wolfgang? Is Wolfgang part of the Van? Well, yeah, he played bass, didn't he? So, yeah he's already contributing part of that connection.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, even if he never played bass in the band, there's just the fact that he's Eddie's son just makes him a part of the whole mosaic.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
yeah. And I've got to say, I really respect his sort of single-mindedness in doing his own thing and not being swept up in all of this talk and gossip and stuff about what Alex Van Halen's going to do and this and that and blah blah blah. The fact that Wolfie's doing his own thing is awesome for me. It shows an incredible strength of character, because as we all know, he cops a lot of shit online too, but he dishes it back as strong as he gets it, and he's resolute, and I think that's awesome. I actually think that it's not surprising that he's Ed's son, because obviously Ed had that singularity too when he was young, which is how he invented all those things, and Wolfie's got that too in forging his own path.
Awesome, bro. I think you're right. I just want to do a special quick little shout out to guys. Go to our community page while you're here. Take a break, go to our community page, and you'll see a whole lot of YouTube channels up there. Go and subscribe to all those YouTube channels, please. They're all friends of the channel. Let them know that the 5150 sent you there. And if you are watching and you want your channel to go on our community page, just give me a yell, give Hoss a yell, Chris a yell, and we'll make sure that we put your channel up there, because our channel is about sharing other people's social media accounts that are related to us. That's the least we can do for you guys. Happy to do that.
Yep. Absolutely. Hit us all up individually, and all the other separate links that are supporters of the channel, for sure. And actually, Jason Tong in the comments was they're just saying about how Fair Warning undoubtedly is one of the guitarist's favorite albums out of all the catalog. But for him, the Van Halen II Tone is like his favorite Eddie sound. And I've got to say, yeah, if I had to pick two, okay, I'm going to pick three. I'm going to be lazy and say my three favorite Eddie sounds are Van Halen II, Fair Warning, and the Live Without a Net tone, just because it's so imprinted. It's a little higher gain, and it's a bit less trebly, and it's sort of smoothed out by then, but I still love it. It's great. So if I had to pick three, they'd be my three. But yeah, Jason, I totally agree with you. And for anyone, Jason's probably already got one of these, I'm sure, if Van Halen II Tone is his favorite. But for anyone that wants to really put a pickup in their guitar that gets the Van Halen II album sound specifically, check out the Bare Knuckle VH2. It is ridiculous.
Awesome.
The what?
Awesome.
The Bare Knuckle what?
It's called the Bare Knuckle VH2. And Tim Mills, who is Bare Knuckle, spent months and months and months, because Van Halen 2 Eddie Tone is his favorite tone. He didn't worry about all the forms of what magnets and what pickups Eddie used and how many windings, and he didn't look at any of that, even though he obviously already kind of knew it. What he did was he did it purely by ear over 6 months. And yep, and I've put one of those. I'll show it in a minute. I put the VH2 in the bridge position on one of my guitars, and oh my Lord, it's got the grit, but as soon as you wind the volume back, it's got that clean, the start of Bottoms Up, that kind of sound, where it almost cleans up like a single coil. It's nuts. So if anyone loves that tone and they haven't checked out that pickup, I will say, please check out that pickup. It's unbelievable. And you can tell that Tim spent 6 months working on it.
Bare Knuckle make good pickups. And they do good delivery too. They worldwide. Good man.
I'll tell you the other thing that's awesome about Tim and Bare Knuckle is if you find him on Insta or Facebook or wherever and message him personally, he always gets back to you. Always. Oh. Yep.
Awesome. Chris, I'm going to put you in the hot seat, because you mentioned Fair Warning before being the guitar player's go-to album. So I want you to succinctly tell us why it is the guitar player's album for you before we get on to the corner bar gig stuff.
I want to talk about another album they do too, but Fair Warning's it's the mean one, right? We all hear the stories about how, Ed was a bit pissed off and he wanted to leave the band, and David was driving him bananas, and he works at one time in the studio and I'm coming in another time, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm doing it my way and I'm laying it down, and I am going to crank this amp. I'm doing it in the studio. You hear all that stuff, but it's the mean album. We know it's got a tone about it, but the sweetness, the songs on it that are, that are the more mellow kind of like nice songs about love, they're all sweet too. But say reprogramming the program for a minute, if you've got like, someone who grew up with my older sister's Van Halen albums, Van Halen 1 through to Van Halen Fair Warning, and that, they were always in the record player and all the records in my parents' house, and I was just stealing them and listening to them. So I grew up with David. One of my favorite albums is A Different Kind of Truth. And one of my favorite guitar tones is A Different Kind of Truth. And I go to everyone, guys in my band, other people I know, and I'll puff my chest out like, you want to hear something good in the modern age, you get a good set of headphones, and you stick on A Different Kind of Truth. And that album blows me away all the time. That's my album I put on. That's my Van Halen album I stuck on. I see the lower two guys have gone. Doesn't matter. Different Kind of Truth is, I know that there are heaps of old songs, and I always loved Woman in Love, and She's a Woman. She's a Woman, for example, and the Gene Simmons demo, and some of the songs that were remixed in the Gene Simmons demo. But I don't know what your guys' opinion is, but I friggin' love A Different Kind of Truth.
Yeah, look, I think the guitar tone on that album is good. I'm going to pass it over to Braden, but before I do that, I want to say thank you, Thomas Santiago, for becoming the latest channel member. If you guys want to help our channel out, we want to do some monthly draws. Your subscription to the channel will help buy us the Van Halen t-shirts that we want to put up for draw. Go and please join us and support our channel. Braden, what do you think?
For A Different Kind of Truth, so much to talk about the album. I mean, there's a lot of tracks on there. But personally, for me, I like it. I see a lot of people talking about it on Facebook groups and stuff like that, and but for me, what I personally think about it, I really love it. The guitar tone on there is great. Wolfgang sounds great. I mean, not a lot of people really give him credit on that album, but
nice.
He's just amazing. His vocals are great, and Alex Van Halen, he's just on fire on that album. I mean,
nice.
and Dave, he sounds great. There's some rough spots on that album, of course, just because it's the later years, but I think he did personally for me a really good job on it.
Hey, if you want to be a monk, you got to eat a lot of rocks. That whole album, dude, it's bang. It's for me, like, sorry, I'll chime out, but for me, like, for that to be the last thing they did, yes, we've got the Tokyo double live album, which I love, but for the last studio album, for me, like, for a swan song, it's like the Presence, Zeppelin's Presence. For me, like, that's a swan song, and I'm so happy that happened.
Oh, look, I'm going to jump in and agree with you. I think as the years go by and we pick A Different Kind of Truth apart, Hoss, and dig a little bit deeper into it, we will probably recognize a lot of things that we didn't pick up, because it is, as Chris said, his final album. So it will be a statement for us to pour and deep dive into, and I look forward to doing that with you guys. Before we do that, guys, someone sent me a text message who's an avid follower of the channel, and there he is there. That's that's Keith. He was watching the video, and that's his dinner.
I love it.
Love it, Keith. Love it.
And Keith, I haven't had lunch yet even, so that's making me very hungry.
I won't show you guys the other photo he sent me.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Why, Hoss, what time is it where you are?
I think we're 2 hours apart, Chris. It's 2:45 in the afternoon.
Oh yeah.
What are you guys? 4:45, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 4:45, bro. 4:45. Yeah, we're getting there. So, bro, one of the reasons why we're getting together today to have a bit of a chat about a couple of things, obviously the big one for, and I'll get rid of that comment, guys. The big one for us, obviously, is...
Thanks, PJT.
Oh, yeah. Good to see you, PJ. I'll just get rid of that comment. So there it is there. Thursday, May the 19th, the Corner Bar Hotel, Melbourne, Australia. Hoss has organised a massive tribute to EVH. We'll be there. We'll be streaming on 2 channels, guys. We'll be streaming from our channel here. And we'll be streaming
Netflix and Stan. No, I'm kidding.
and we'll be streaming on Fruitcake Tony's channel as well, the pre-show. So we look forward to that. That's going to be a channel first, Hoss.
Yeah.
And you've got something to say about people flying interstate.
Look, obviously, not too many people are probably going to be flying in from interstate or whatever. But my promise from the first time we were trying to put this show on as a memorial to when Eddie passed 18 months ago is my promise, which I hold to still, is if anyone has to come and get on a plane, they have as many free tickets as however many people there are. So yeah, anyone coming from Sydney or wherever else, they got free tickets.
Wow, that's generous, bro. That's generous. So all those miners in Perth, all those miners that have got lots of cash, and you guys are stuck for a week.
And when you say miners, you mean a miner, not a miner.
Yeah,
hey, you said free tickets, man. You said free tickets.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm paraphrasing Louis C.K. there. He does a funny gag about miners, not miners. Yeah. Anyway, the gag's too rude to tell, but you can look it up. It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Thanks,
so everyone's
Mikey.
Everyone's saying well done, Hoss. So, bro, do you want to show us through your gear? Is this a good time to do that, bro?
Well, yeah, it is. I was going to say something funny, but it's...
Oh, yeah, funny's good.
I don't have the energy to be funny this afternoon, so...
Hey, what am I paying for here? Come on.
Hey, what am I here? Chopped liver? Anyway, sure. Okay. So why don't we start with... I was hoping that I might today have my full wet, dry, wet setup kind of set up in the studio. I don't, but I will next week at rehearsals, and I'll definitely be doing some videos and Insta stuff. And Andrew, if you wanted to, even though it falls outside of our regular show times, if you were around and wanted to do a live thing, we could totally do that as well. So no problem. I definitely
love to do it, bro.
Great. So I'll definitely show off the big wet, dry, wet setup. But why don't we just start with the guitars I've got here in my studio for now? And
Yep.
Number one is the guitar that I'm going to be using for the Van Halen 1 album. Now, this is not the guitar I used at the Melbourne Guitar Show. This is built by my guitar tech, Joe Occhipinti, from scratch. This is his recreation of Ed's standard Strat Tram 1 pickup.
What's the headstock?
Sorry, what's that?
Show us the headstock.
Yeah, it's got the Gibson on it.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
What's the pickup in it?
To the detail.
The pickup is a JBJ.
Lovely.
So
JBJ.
JBJ, yeah. So that is it's a JB pickup that was wound by, and I'm sorry, this is escaping me now, but the extra J refers to who wound it. So
holy goats.
Alnico 5, about I think about 9 or 10K output, so like moderate, which is period correct for what Ed would have done. Now,
right,
I should just say, and speaking of Dave Nesdale earlier, there are people that will none of the guitars I'm using on my show, I'm deliberately going to lengths to make sure that they're like exactly accurate to what Ed used. They just happen to be the guitars that I'm using, if that makes sense, you know.
Sure.
So yeah, so whether it was the pickup he had when he recorded Van Halen, I don't really care about any of that stuff, to be honest. I feel like I'm so honored and happy to just be in the ballpark that you know, but this guitar is killer. And actually, and I hate to say this, I wish that my Floyd tremolos felt as smooth and as lovely as this standard Strat one, and they just don't, and I don't know why. But there's and this one's sitting flush on the body, so like what Ed would have done, so there's no pullback.
Yeah,
and yet when I push it down, there's this squidgy springiness that I don't know. It'll sound too nerdy if I keep using adjectives from there, but you get the idea. It just feels awesome, and it's a brass nut, and it stays in tune amazingly well, even with all the Ed stuff, you know.
Wow.
So that I'll be using for the first set. And then
where'd you get the body from? Did your guy paint that?
Yes. So Joe painted it. He did all the stuff. I actually don't know where he got the body from, or the neck, but I know that he's had it sitting around.
Was it a second sitting in the bottom of the pile?
Sorry, what's that?
Was it a second from the bottom of the pile?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it could well have been, because obviously Joe in his workshop's always got bodies and necks and stuff lying around from various builds or other clients, you know, that have left things there. So yeah, I actually don't know specifically where that body and neck came from. I just know that it's built by him, and he's such a gorgeous human being, and he has bent over backwards for me in the last 12 months to make sure that all my guitars are playing beautiful. So so I'm honored to use that one. When the backup, should anything go wrong with that one, will be this guy, which has no strings on it at the moment. But this one, as you can see, it's got a Floyd, and it's a floating Floyd. It's not that's the one I used on the Melbourne Guitar Show video, and that isn't painted. That's just a white body with electrical tape on it.
No way. Wow. So what's that? What guitar was that originally? It's a what?
Oh, yeah, no. A lot of people have asked me, so what's the guitar you used on the Melbourne Guitar Show video? So it's a Fender Player Series, HSS, and I think that the retail they're not an expensive guitar. I mean, I bought on the Melbourne Guitar Show, I didn't change any of the pickups. I didn't change anything. That is literally, you can even see I've taped over the single coils to make them like a bit less conspicuous, you know?
Correct.
And whereas now we've taken the single coils out, and Joe's put in like a more period correct scratch plate. But essentially on that gig, what I had done, because really that thing for the Melbourne Guitar Show got thrown together really fast. Like, we got confirmed quickly, and we only had 3 rehearsals, and I didn't have a proper Eddie guitar at that point. So I just bought a Fender Player Series. It was about $1,000 Australian, so $700 US. Like, it's not an expensive guitar. And I didn't change not one thing on it. All I did was put some black electrical tape. And so that guitar is straight off the shelf on that video. And which is this one. Now, all that's happened is Joe's taken the Fender off, because we had some problems with Fender, so we decided to take the Fender logos off. Whoops. And and other than that, it's the same body and the same neck and the same sort of Floyd special, like a cheap Floyd, really, you know.
Different pickup.
What's that? Different
pickup.
The pickup in this one now is different. Yeah, it's a Seymour Duncan 78. Yeah.
No.
But this is going to be, so this one's totally not an Ed guitar at all. This is my main session and touring axe. And it is just an off-the-shelf Fender that I've swapped all the pickups out to bare knuckles. And in fact, speaking of the bare knuckle VH2, that's what that is, and it sounds unbelievable in there. It's so good, and it's perfect with the single coils because it's not so high output that it dwarfs them. You know, it's a really good combination. It's juicy. It's very sort of Mike Landau. It's great. So this is what I'm going to use to play When It's Love, because I want the neck pickup, you know.
Is that, did you say, is that your main, that's your main touring?
This one is my main traveling guitar. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because, or you know, if I'm going to do a quick session for somebody and I want to take like 3 or 4 different guitars, I'll just throw this in the car, because I know between the single coils and the humbucker, it's going to really, and because it's a low output humbucker with Alnico 5 magnets, it'll get me to most things that I'm going to do, you know. So whether it's a Nashville Telecaster thing, this will sort of do it. It's a sort of a one size fits all. But what I say, jack of all trades, master of none. I hate to say it about her, but she's a master of none, but she is a jack of all trades, you know. So it's true. You can't have it all, unfortunately. Where would you put it? So this Ibanez Destroyer is what I'll be using for some of the first set. And yes, I know the colors are completely not what Ed uses. So before anyone says, and like I said, I don't care about any of those things. This is actually belongs to a very amazing singer friend of mine, Chris Stark, who, if you want to hear a set of pipes on a guy, go to my YouTube channel and look at the Racer X videos. And Chris Stark is the singer of my Racer X tribute band. And he sounds like Bruce Dickinson. It's unbelievable. But anyway, this is his guitar. And all I did, of course, is I just stuck some white tape on it. And I actually think the white on that sort of metallic blue looks kind of cool. Actually.
That's cool, bro. I love that X. I love it.
Yeah, it's a sweet axe. And so obviously, not obviously, but I'm going to use this in the first set for all the Van Halen 1 stuff that Eddie didn't use a trem. So Feel Your Love Tonight. I can't remember the others off the top of my head, but there's a bunch. There's about 3 or 4 where he used the Destroyer. So that'll get used for that.
Yeah, Grant's right. The blue does look badass.
Man, I'm going to show one more. It really, that blue, I'm trying to get it in the light, but you get the idea.
It really ties the room together, man.
Hey!
Gotta add some blue, man.
I actually got it just for the room. And then the guitar that is one of my new babies that I'm going to use for most of the second set is this Neil Daly built 5150 Live Without a Net era replica or tribute guitar. You know? And she is so gorgeous, and the body is nice and light. It's balanced really well. It's not neck heavy and it's not body heavy.
What's the body wood? I should know this.
What's the body wood? You know, I actually don't. I don't think I ever asked Neil what I would have initially, and I've forgotten. But he gets all his parts. Neil's attention to detail is fantastic. So the reason that I didn't bother myself too much with it is because he knows what all the woods are and stuff. And when I said, "Can I commission you to do a guitar that essentially sort of looks like the Live Without a Net guitar, like the same wear, the same paint wear, and this and that," he said, "Great, leave it with me. I've got all the right bits." And in fact, he even found a 1984 Floyd Rose. So, even
it'll be popular. It'll be popular. I'm sure the body will be popular.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, JG, for the $4.99. Thank you, brother.
Oh yeah. And so you can see there's the wear on the back, and then even, hang on, where are they? I'll have to take the strap off. He's even put all the little tiny holes where Ed had made holes over the years for different straps and things. Look at that.
Red.
Oh,
So
man.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That thing looks filthy, man. You should clean that up.
This thing sounds, actually, I forgot. It's actually plugged in. Hang on. Maybe I can give you guys a listen. And the sound isn't plugged through the computer, so it won't be, you'll hear it in the room, but hang on, let me see. Where's the pick?
Okay. You guys are going to be in for a treat. He's going to play some riffs for us.
I'm going to play some riffs and you can get to hear it, and then I'll show you the amp and stuff in a minute, but you would, there they are.
Put your requests in now, viewers.
Yeah, put your requests. And of course, where do I keep my picks? right there.
Oh, good man.
How does that fit in your pocket?
It's a little bulky, I must admit, but you know, what do you do? I get some strange looks when I go down to the cafe to get a coffee, but
Not in the cup. Not in the cup.
how's that volume level? Is that too much or too quiet or?
No, it's
That's
good.
fantastic, bro.
Can you show us different tones? You'll
Sorry,
be able
what's
to come
that?
through different tones and show us different tones you'll be using.
Nah, I'm only using one tone. This. I don't know if you can hear that very well, but so yeah. So what I've got, let's see if I can show you.
So you get a free ticket if I turn up, right? Right.
Yep. 100%. What I've been doing actually just before this podcast was I'll show you. Sometimes what I do when I want to go like really down the rabbit hole is I'll fly in the recordings of the Van Halen songs, like say Mean Street or something like that, where there's some isolated guitar at the front, and I'll see like how close I can get it running the, you know, miking up my 4x12 in the garage, which has got greenbacks in it. And so I just put a 157. I just keep it super simple. And how close I can get it to the album tone without too much like Pro Tools trickery. You know what I mean? Like EQs and compressors and all this stuff. And so I was doing that just before, and I don't know how well you'll be able to hear it, but I'll show you anyway. I'll play a bit of, so. Hang on.
Oh my God, you sound amazing.
And no hands. So that's it. So it's sort of close, but and that's with no plugins and stuff like that. So with a couple of little EQ plugs and stuff, you can get it pretty close. But
Wow.
Actually, if anyone wants to see someone that gets Ed's tone crazy close, check out Jim Gaustad's channel, and you will be amazed at how like the record he gets it to sound. But same thing, it's just time you put into it. It's deep diving and going down those rabbit holes, you know. But so let's see.
Bro.
I think.
Give me a yell when you're ready to go for Studio Cam, bro.
Okay. I think it's up.
Yep.
Have you got it there?
Yep. So do you want me to put it up there and isolate it?
Put it up.
Are you ready?
Yeah, go for it. So, whoop. So that's the plexi.
Sexy.
Yeah. Everything on 10, because why not? Down on the floor, I'm actually just playing with a couple of different things today. I've got these Echoplex sort of preamp pedals. They're good, but they don't give you any EQ shaping. So, but they're interesting. I've got this MXR like 12-band graphic humped for mids, like the way Ed used to do. But actually,
Always on.
Yeah, that's like an always on thing. I'm actually not using it for this sound though. That's this is just on the board. I'm sort of trying A/Bing different things. The MXR EQ pedal is something, and it's very noisy compared to the other boost pedals. So obviously we have our. Obviously we got the flanger, script phase 90.
Mm-hmm.
But the boost pedal that to me sounds the best and the most like old Ed and the quietest, which is great, is this Friedman Buxom boost.
Oh,
right. And
me and Andrew at the same time. Oh.
And I'll tell you why that's so good to get Ed's tone is because it's got a full EQ, so you can kind of shape it exactly how you need, but also it's got like a tight knob, which means that flubby bottom end that sometimes you get when you're like really cranking a plexi, you can dial it out completely.
Nice.
And then you'll have to, I can't see the screen, so you'll have to direct me if there's the Variac. Can you see that?
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, I have that at the moment turned down to 160.
oh, we lost you, bro.
Can you think you can hear us?
Hold on, guys. Hoss. Hoss. Okay, sorry guys, we've got a bit of a technical issue there. Hopefully Hoss is going to come back to us and tell us a little bit more about that gear. But doesn't that look interesting and outstanding, Chris, for us guitar nerds? Is it just what?
Oh, I love the fact that he went, you know, I got one of these and we're like, oh, you guys can't see it, but we would have been like, oh.
Yeah. Hoss.
Pop.
Oh, he's popped out.
We've gone on new wave.
Okay. Nerd heaven. Okay, guys. So what we'll do is we'll just carry on having a bit of a chit chat here until we get Hoss back.
Robert
We've lost
says
him.
that Ross is dragging out the WW2 bomb.
Yeah. So you got some guitars there, Braden. Do you want to talk through a couple of the guitars that you've got handy, if that's okay?
Yeah. I also have a pedal board and my amp here as well, so I'll talk a little bit about that.
Cool.
So first I'll start off with my number one here. This is actually my first ever guitar that I ever bought. Take off the headstock like Ed did with his I think it was the Bumblebee in 79, so I have that taped off. And then
What is it?
it's a Squire Bullet Strat. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's a hardtail, and I put in an EVH Wolfgang here. Sounds really, really nice. It made this sound even better than it was before. What else do I have here? I also have my Epiphone Les Paul Standard. Been playing with this a lot recently. This sounds nice as well. So got that. And then pedal wise, I have an MXR
Hello.
90.
No,
Hoss.
frozen.
Hoss.
And, yeah.
Bro. So, sorry, Braden. Hoss,
Sorry.
we can see you.
Hey, so sorry about that, everyone. It doesn't matter how many guitars and how many rack gear you got in your studio. There's still the little thing of batteries in your laptop. So there you go.
Oh, dude, is that what happened?
That's all it was. So I'll have to remember. See, that's a lesson for before I go to the corner hotel. Make sure I've got all my batteries charged. You know. So,
Dude.
my apologies, everybody. Sorry about that. Essentially, that's it. Actually, Andrew, that was kind of the gist of it. Except for, I'll be back in 1 second. Let me show you this.
And while he's
No
coming
problem.
back, I see in the comments, Paulie said that he thought that I was Dave Murray. That's not
You
the
look-
first time
Yeah, of course.
the first time I've heard that, man.
Dave Murray comes to New Zealand for his holiday, so 10 out of 10 for guessing who Chris Hunter really is. Braden.
Oh, dude, I played gig and I had a guy come up to me and go, dude, you know you look like. I'm like, yeah. And then another band's like, yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
The last thing I say is I even like Googled like when did Iron Maiden? Is any chance that he came through New Zealand? Did he come? Mum, tell me something. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just trying to pull that link up again, Andrew.
It's okay. It's all right. We're having fun.
We are. We're
Iron
definitely.
Maiden tribute band. I'll be dead.
We've got 35 people watching us. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you, Kurt.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for all the subscriptions for our channel too. We love you guys.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Okay, here we go. Oh, yes, I'm entering a broadcast studio. Excellent. There you go. So when you...
Dad!
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I can see that a little bit. A little bit. Yeah. Hey,
Just
Andrew,
take
I've
away
got...
the ugly.
What's that?
Just take away the ugly.
There's no ugly there. What are you talking about?
You're not in the room, dude. Anyway, back to more important message.
Yeah. So, sorry, wherever you guys were at when I rudely dropped out and came back in, just continue from there.
Okay, so Braden's just going to flick through and talk about some of his axes. So
I don't actually have Braden on the screen. Do you guys have him?
Yes. Yeah. He's frozen a bit, but do you want to continue, Braden, talking about some of your axes, and then we'll start talking about we'll flick through some of the video, not the videos, the pics of the '89 tour.
Yeah. So I'll continue with the pedals since I talked a little about the guitars. So my number one right here, and then I also have my Epiphone Les Paul. If Haas didn't see it,
Wow.
pretty nice.
You can't go wrong with the Les Paul.
Yeah. Pedal wise, I have an MXR Phase 90, an EVH 5150 Overdrive, a Boss Super Overdrive SB1, and a Boss Course CE2W, and then an Echoplex delay. So I have that going. And amp wise, I have a Marshall Origin 50 with a 2x12 cab with 70/80 selections in it.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant. That's a good setup. That's going to get you over the ballpark, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah. How do you find the tonal differences between the two overdrives you got?
Let me get them real quick. So the EVH Overdrive, I find a lot more kind of, I don't know. It's just its presence is really present whenever you step on it. I have it kind of set a little bit loud here, but I don't know if you can see the settings, but
Kind of.
so yeah, I crank the mids pretty much almost all the way. And
Oh, yeah. So what are you doing with your mids on your Origin then? Are you doing opposite low mids on that and cranking the mids on that one?
for the Super Overdrive, it's just very kind of the drive is kind of cranked all the way up. I'm still messing around with it a little bit, but yeah, I favor the 5150 Overdrive a lot more just because I get a pretty good EVH tone out of this.
Awesome.
Dead air.
Yeah, we are having a lot of technical issues, guys. So thank you for putting up with us. We're going to get there. Haas,
Tell me about
how
it.
are
My
you,
head got
brother?
really big for a minute. How's it
How are
going,
you, bro?
Haas? You back?
So lesson number 2, technology lesson number 2 for the day is once your laptop battery's died and you plugged it back in, don't accidentally unplug it again.
Oh,
Sorry, far out. You'd think I'd done this before, wouldn't you? Jeez.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good.
It's all good now. It's all good.
So bro, look, obviously we want to push and celebrate the fact that you've organised this gig at the Corner Bar. It's been something that you've been working on for a long time. It's been put back because of this global thing a couple of times. Yeah. It's given you an opportunity, I suppose, you and the performers to get together and sort of craft it a little bit better, give it a bit more shape. And obviously more than that, though, get some tickets out there, get people in. What's the venue number? How many people can the corner bar hold? And are you expecting a full house, bro?
We're expecting it to be pretty full. I think that with the ticket buying mood in Melbourne at the moment, people are still a tiny bit tentative. I think it's not helped by the fact that we've had to reschedule this particular show so many times that people are maybe wait 5.
Oh,
5 times. Yeah. So I think that understandably, people are like, maybe the initial excitement from when we were putting it on 18 months ago has died down a little. I mean, look, every time we've offered refunds, like that was something that me and the corner bar agreed from the start, is that whenever it gets rescheduled, anyone that wants a refund gets one. So we lost a lot of tickets out of all the rescheduling, but corner hotel fits 800 people. That's like full capacity. So 800 squeezy though. That's not much fun. I've been in there when there's 800 people, and that's not a fun night. Actually, it becomes annoying. You know, everyone's bumping into you and spilling your drinks. And, but I think that it looks like we're going to get a pretty solid 500 or 600. So, I mean, that'll be great. And in that room, that'll be perfect. It'll be super busy, but not annoying for people, you know? So, so tickets are selling pretty well. Obviously, there's only 2 weeks to go. You know, musicians notoriously just turn up on the night, don't they? And just buy tickets at the door. But for anyone in Melbourne, I would say try and buy your tickets beforehand, because there may not be many door tickets left on the night. So
awesome. No, we look forward to that, bro. We look forward to the fact that you've given us an opportunity to get on location with John ZD351 and film a bit of the pre-show. We look forward to that, and we also look forward to, guys, subscribe to the channel here, because as Hoss said earlier, we are going to be streaming at some stage Hoss discussing his wet dry wet rig. So we all look forward to that. So that's coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what we'll do is I'll do a full sort of walk around rig rundown of in the rehearsal space with the proper wet dry wet rig with the 3 Marshall heads and the other thing, it doesn't matter, I can't show you really now anyway, but there's a rack of the important stuff for wet dry wet, which is the wet.
Sure.
It's a Lexicon MPX1 reverb and delay unit and an actual 80s Eventide H3000 to do all the wide and the pitch shifting and that 51 sound that we all know and love, and actually a little bit of it's used sparingly on 1984 and a few other things, but yeah, so essentially that stuff's doing the heavy lifting for the wet, and it's just in a little neat 4-space rack. And then like a separate mixing desk for everything to be patched in and out of, which means that on the gig, it gives me separate and immediate control of if there's too much reverb, I can just go to the mixing desk and turn the reverb down. If there's too much delay, so I don't have to actually go into the patches and try and re-edit. I can just do it real quick with the turn of a knob, you know. So, and it means that if the front of house engineer Warwick wants to hear it without any of the wet, I just turn the wet off and he gets it, dry. So yeah.
Brilliant, bro. Can't wait for you to discuss that. I just want to do another quick shout out, bro, to Nina Ferrero, who is going to be singing. Yeah. She's going to be at the Ferrero at the gig. Go and find her on Instagram. She put a post up and she was singing an Aretha Franklin song. She was in a tribute, I think, a couple of days ago. Go and check it out. Boy, it blew me away. Well done, Nina. Fantastic.
And actually, there's a new addition to the set list that Nina is going to sing. And it happens to be one of her very favorite songs. And that's why we weren't going to do it originally. Nina has a big band version of it, like a jazz big band arrangement of this song, which sounds unbelievable and it works awesome. And the last couple of months, I've been waking up in the morning with this song in my head. Like, I've been sort of dreaming it as I was waking up. And that's unusual for me. I don't often have songs in my head when I wake up. And it's Why Can't This Be Love? and I spoke to Nina, and she said I would love to sing that song. So I said if I can get the keyboards programmed, because it really relies on. I mean, those sounds are so important, especially for that song. The guitar part's really a very second fiddle. You know, it's all about those Oberheim synths.
Right.
And I was very lucky that I got the talented Phil Tercio here in Melbourne, who I did all that Virgil Donati fusion stuff with. He whipped it up for me, and it sounds just like the record. And so we are now going to do Why Can't This Be Love as well.
Go to Hoss's channel, ladies and gentlemen, and check out the Virgil Donati stuff that Hoss is talking about. He uploaded some of that stuff just recently on his channel. Go and check it out. Go and get blown away. Fantastic. Well done, bro. Fantastic videos.
Thanks, bro. We did that stuff in the 90s, and it was, just instrumental, silly, heavy metal, jazz fusion kind of stuff. Not completely dissimilar to maybe what Dream Theater did in the very beginning, but obviously with no vocals and probably a little bit more like some of the early jazz fusion stuff, like Chick Corea, Return to Forever, probably more like that than Dream Theater. But yeah, if you feel like some silly instrumental music, check that out.
Look, I loved it because I'm a Dream Theater nut, and that Liquid Tension Experiment stuff. It's fantastic. It's good. I recommend go and check it out because there's a lot of arrows in Hoss's bow, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Andrew. Actually, speaking of Dream Theater, a video surfaced just recently that I did also put up on my YouTube channel just for fun, which is someone I did when Mike Portnoy came out in '96 to headline the Australian Ultimate Drummers Weekend. I was already playing with Virgil Donati in a Dream Theater tribute show, and John Petrucci and Mike Portnoy and the boys had been watching our live videos in their tour bus, apparently. Anyway, so when Mike, look, I don't want to talk out of school, but the way that I've heard it is that one of their fun things that they used to love to do when they were in the tour bus is they would watch all the various different Dream Theater tribute shows from around the world, and obviously probably sit around throwing peanuts at the screen most of the time, and I'm sure they did with us as well. But when Mike Portnoy came to Melbourne to headline the Drummers Festival in '96, he just came on his own, and he knew about the Virgil Donati. We called it Theater of Dreams, and anyway, he employed all of us, obviously minus Virgil, and we did a whole 1 hour of Dream Theater songs with Portnoy as to headline the weekend. And just recently, someone uploaded like a snippet of one of their songs, Metropolis, online. So it's on my YouTube channel. The video it's really crap quality and sound is bad, but you'll get the idea. I had hair and sideburns back then too.
I loved it, bro. Thank you for mentioning that. It was fantastic. I couldn't believe it. You've actually played with Mike P.
I thought you were going to say I couldn't believe it. You actually had hair once.
Oh, I'd never say that, bro.
Actually, hang on. If you want to see something real funny, give me 1 second here. Oh, here we go. There you go.
Who's that?
Hey, baby, what are you doing tonight?
That's me in 1992.
Oh, my Lord.
You look like my best mate in high school.
Maybe I was your best mate in high. No.
Yeah. What have I been doing?
Yeah. Someone said to me once.
Nina remembers.
Yeah.
Nina remembers a hairy Hoss.
Yeah, Nina would remember Harry Hoss, and she would probably remember then when I got it cut short, and then I had the big sideburns, which is like what you'll see in the Mike Portnoy thing. And then after that, I was really lucky because one of my good friends and the singer of a band I was in was a hairdresser and had his own salon, and he was doing my hair, and it was him that. I mean, I was in my early 20s when I started thinning out, and he was just like, dude, you can fight this if you want, but truthfully, he goes, let me tell you, just shave it, man, and you will never look back. Anyway, I was scared, and I took his advice, and there you go. And then Hairless Hoss was born.
Wow.
Mark too.
Yeah. So, Chris, you can give me some of yours, and I'll give you some of mine. And John ZD says, don't mess with the baldies. No, John will know as well as I do that God only made a few perfect heads, and on the rest he had to put hair.
Boom!
Boom!
And there's John there. There's John next to our mate, our
Brad.
good mate, our best mate, Brad.
And Brad, if you're watching, brother, big hugs, dude. Big hugs. And can I borrow one of your Marshall heads, please?
Yeah. Oh, guys. So what we're going to do, if it's okay, I'm just mindful of the time that we got here too. So these are some of the picks that we could flick through if you guys want, and just talk about some of the picks from the 89 Live in Tokyo gig. So that's a cover there.
Can I ask? So this was originally broadcast. It was made to be pro shot to be broadcast on Japanese TV. Is that correct? And then it just made its way into bootlegs,
as I understand. But I'm sure Keith Campbell will correct us if we're wrong.
Yep, Keith knows all. He is the oracle. Yeah.
There's the set list there. So if you guys want to read, Chris, can you see the set list? Do you want to read that out?
You've heard my voice. Why are you going to get me to do this? But I do know it says Japan the 1st of February, and they played 1st and 2nd of February. And so does anyone know in the chat, or us guys, so this is all the 1st of February show? Do we know? Yes. It is. Right, so it must have been a better night.
As far as I know, but I'm not an expert. So again, Keith might correct us.
And I do know 2 nights later they were in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Yeah, right.
I did my homework.
Yeah.
So it's a cool set list. There's only one way to rock, which obviously we all know, don't we? From Live Without a Net,
song.
Don't we?
Love that song. And it's shot so well, and it's on such a big stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they look like they're having fun. But then again, when did Van Halen not look like they were having fun?
And there's a bootleg there, cover, which is obviously Hoss, a ripoff of one of our favourite DVDs ever.
Favorite DVD ever, and VHS, of course, to those of us old enough. And yeah, it's clearly a ripoff of that. That's all right.
That's the Tokyo Dome, a picture of it. So this is the set list that they played. The usual encore, You Really Got Me, and Rock and Roll. They loved that rock and roll song, didn't they?
Yeah, they love jamming on the Led Zeppelin and stuff.
Yeah. It's a good set list. It's fun.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
And even those, I mean, a few different things in there too, black and blue and cool. I mean, obviously it's not super far away from when they did Live Without a Net, but there's a lot of different songs in there, obviously. So it's great.
True.
Okay, so these are the notes that I pinched off the Van Halen news desk. So, Van Halen played the second of 2 consecutive shows at the Superdome in Tokyo, Japan. They were winding down, obviously, from the OU81 tour, which was really successful. Got a lot of bums on seats. And what the album went since has gone on, Hoss, Chris, and Braden, to sell 4 million copies. I think that's not correct. I think it's a little bit more than that now.
I'm going to say goodbye to Sandra too. Sandra said she's got to bounce.
See you, Sandra. Good. Thanks for joining in. Yeah.
Thank you, Sandra. And then obviously no footage from the second night that we know of. Oh,
so as far as you know, so they filmed so that's what it could be. Is it that whoever filmed it said, we'll do one night, we'll do that, and then that's play good, boys. Maybe.
Yeah. And there's Ed, looking pretty cool, playing the keyboards. dressed in jeans and that red and white striped shirt. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Another pic of him.
Don't you own that guitar now, Simon? That looks like your one.
No, it is. It is.
Yeah.
I bought it off him. Yeah.
And this is interesting. This is the cover of a bootleg that most of us might be familiar with, which is a little bit interesting because you see there Hoss, Chris, and Braden. It's, I got a photo of Ed, which is absolutely not related to Van Halen in 1989 at all.
I like the font,
No,
though.
you're right.
It looks pretty
You're
cool.
right. Yeah. Okay.
Oh wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a and
Where's Waldo?
yeah, I suppose for me, guys, what's really interesting about that gig, we always talk, and we've on this channel, haven't we, Hoss? We've gone through and we've ranked this. We've done a couple of shows on this this DVD, and we've done a couple of shows on this one as well. One of the great things about YouTube is that they've got the Dallas Free gig on there. There's a lot of gigs on there. A gold mine of live performances by Van Halen that we need to talk about. And I always liked this Tokyo gig because I'm going to sound like we've always sounded like, but, Chris mentioned it earlier. It looked like they were really having fun. It transcends through the music and the video footage, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it wasn't you, Chris, that was saying that they pretty much always had fun. They did. I mean, you can feel a little change of the energy as the various different live things, because as we all know very well now from reading the books and stuff, what was going on behind the scenes. I think you can feel some of that in the music, but I think for that Tokyo one, they were still, like the bromance was still there,
Yeah. What did you think about it, Chris? You've spent a bit of time going through the YouTube clip. You got some thoughts on it that you want to share with us? A couple of points that stuck out for you on the concert?
No, I like the it's Pro Shot, right? Do we call it that? Do we call it Pro Shot?
Yep.
Yeah, I like the Pro Shot. I thought it was really filmed well on such a massive stage, and they look like they're having fun, and it sounded good. I remember you hear the stuff about that. Apparently, you can hear recorded background vocals, and you can hear like Sammy singing on top of Sammy in the thing, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just standard industry practice. It probably happened at the time.
Totally standard, yeah.
And he's not singing, he's not singing on top. He's not. What do you call it? What happens today when you're like, oh, that guy's miming it. That's just the background stuff going on, But I think the tone's good. And I think Ed's ripping. Well, then again, they're all ripping. They always were all ripping. A whole lot of them were, But yeah, as soon as you put on the first song, Only One Way to Rock, there's something about that. It caught me after. It's like when I first saw this concert. Yeah, you put on There's Only One Way to Rock, and then you just go, okay, cool. Oh, yeah, they're smiling, they're jumping around. That's cool. The first lead break little twiddle that Ed does just comes flying in and just friggin' hits you like, boom. You're like, whoa, okay, they're on fire. It's just, yeah. But then, yeah. Eddie Van Halen was kind of a good guitar player, played some ripping stuff.
What about you, Braden? You've spent a bit of time over the last week poring over the gig too. You got some thoughts there that you want to share with us on that gig?
Yeah. Obviously, I've seen live about Net, and the two shows really are sort of similar, but they're really different in their each of them are their own separate entities, I guess you could say. The set lists have changed, and I thought it was a great show, to be honest. There's a very positive energy within the band during that time, and you can really see that with the way they interacted on that stage. The vocals sounded great. Eddie was ripping as usual, and Sammy on Why Can't These Be Love also was ripping as well. Here on leads. Yeah, it was just a really fun show to watch, and I had a great time watching it.
Hoss, you've checked it out. You got some thoughts that stick in your mind, bro?
Yeah, it's a tricky one for me. I have just such a love affair with Live Without a Net that for me, you can just tell that is just such a honeymoon period. You know, Sammy was freshly on board and they'd written all those songs, and, you know, even just the way they come out for There's Only One Way to Rock, and you know, they're doing the leg kicks together and stuff. That's, to me, I have such a love affair with that particular concert that in fairness, it probably wouldn't even really matter like how great anything else was. It would be, for me, I'm always going to compare it to that, you know? So I think it was definitely a great concert. I feel like I can tell a little bit that things had moved slightly. I mean, Ed and Sammy are sort of jamming together, but not like the way they were in Live Without a Net. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I just feel like
that is you. That is true. That is you, because that is true, bro. I'm going to jump in and back you up there because I'm going to jump in and back you up because I think that's one of the great things about this video. A couple of years earlier, you had Live Without a Net, and Eddie's playing ahead of the beat. He's rushing. He's playing ahead of the beat. He's almost like he's just like running the sprint. And then a couple of years later, in '89, watching this, you've got this mature Eddie Van Halen, haven't you, Hoss? You know, a guy that's pacing himself a little bit, and he's not ahead of the beat. He's almost like hanging back a little bit.
Yep, I agree with that. There's like a bubbling kind of fervent energy that, you're right, where it's almost like ahead of the beat in Live Without a Net, and I don't feel it as much in the Tokyo one. And, you know, this is what we're talking about, such subtle differences too, you know, like notes wise, they're all playing it perfectly. It's great, you know. It's the way it feels when it come across, and that can be such subtle things. It could be like where even Alex is placing his beat different, maybe pocket wise. You know, it could be the way Sammy's phrasing. It's so many things that are subconscious almost, you know. But look, I love that all these things are now coming to the surface, you know, and we get to see this stuff because, and we've talked about this before, Andrew, heaps of times, but growing up, my only avenue into live Van Halen was Live Without a Net. There was nothing else. And then only when YouTube became a thing and you know, bootlegs started going around, then I saw the 1982 US Festival, you know, with where they're all pretty hammered. And although I have to say that is, I couldn't tell you whether when I first saw that, I was like horrified by how loose musically it was because they were my heroes, or just overjoyed in the exuberance of how much fun they were having. It was like a very conflicting feeling. And, but now I love it because I feel like I got a little window into what it would have been like to see him with Roth back then, you know, and it was more, I feel like the live show was more about a party than it was about the music. You go into a Van Halen concert to go to a party, you know, whereas I think in the Sammy era, you were going to a Van Halen concert to be wowed musically, you know, and that's, okay. I don't know.
Look, I agree with you, and I've got a question I'm going to throw out to you guys, and I want Chris to answer it first, and then Hoss, and then Braden. So I'm glad, Hoss, that you caught the relationship between what Eddie was doing on Live Without a Net and this gig. I'm glad you did, because I think that's the signpost for us. Do you put this down, you know, the way that Eddie's playing, the way that he's interacting, is that because it's the end of an arduous tour, or has Eddie developed a little bit more where he's not this like giggling schoolboy anymore like he was doing on Live Without a Net? Now he's the prefect. Now he's the counselor. He's got a bit of maturity behind him. He's taken his music a little bit more seriously in a different way. Chris, and then Hoss and Braden.
Okay,
that's an interesting question. How do you know? But you said that they've been on tour a long time. Do you know? Is this at the end of a touring cycle? Do you know?
Yeah, it's at the end of the tour. Yeah.
How long have they been on tour for?
6 months.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I'm actually interested to hear other guys' opinions on that. That's a really good one.
Hoss.
I think even when you look at Eddie on the Tokyo concert, he's starting to look more like that Eddie that where he went through that phase, I don't feel like, I think that a lot of that boyish kind of joy and exuberance wasn't really there. He was playing as great as Eddie always did, because you can't be that good and then play like crap. Like there's great players have this sort of upper buffer zone where even on their worst night is still better than any of your great nights, and Eddie, of course, is that, same as Alex and all of them. But, he was starting to put on weight. I just felt like that boyish kind of thing that you see in Live Without a Net wasn't quite there. And I agree with you, Andrew. I think it's probably maybe not so much that it was at the end of the tour and all of that, but just more that just where the band, but also particularly Eddie, was transitioning into at that point. And there's a period there of I guess a few years where, to me, he really didn't look like himself. Like he almost looks like a different guy to me, and it's sort of started from then. Where the hair got shorter and he put on weight, and he just that glint in the eye that he always had, and that sideways smirk, and it's just, you just didn't see it as much,
Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Braden, and I've got another question. Sorry to avalanche you guys with questions, but Braden, do you have an opinion on the two different Eddies that we're talking about from those two different gigs?
The two different Eddies. For me, how I see it is from Live Without the Net, pretty much, I'd say into the 90s as well. I think he really changed a lot from that 1986 Live Without a Net concert all the way up to the Tokyo Dome concert, and later on in the 90s as well. He's more, to me, he's more focused on what he's doing rather than, doing what he did in Live Without a Net, running across the stage and all that. And, he still jumped around, but he stayed in this little zone that he had, which is, where we usually see guitarists in concerts, on the stage left and all that stuff. But he really stayed in his little zone. He didn't really go out to Mikey's side. He didn't really go up to Sammy's side that much. He really stayed in his little zone, and he was really focused on what he was doing. And yeah,
So Hoss,
Yeah.
I'm going to check this out to everybody, but specifically to you, because you've toured, you've done long tours. So how do you feel as a performing, as a gigging musician, when you finished a tour? Is it something that you want to get over and done with because it's the end? Have you grown as a musician because you've been playing live? And we've read all these biographies where a lot of great gigs are caught at the end of a tour, as opposed to, like, for example, Led Zeppelin at the beginning of a tour. because you've been through the road and you've picked up a lot of the mistakes and you've booted them out, and you're doing things a little bit tighter. Is that something that you've experienced? Because I want to relate that back to this video, this gig that we've been watching over the last week. Have you got some thoughts on that, Hoss?
Yeah, for me, anytime I've got to the end of a long tour, long being maybe 6 months away from home, something like that, whether I'm really glad that the tour is finishing and I'm just, super over it, or whether that it's almost a shame that the tour is finishing, is for me completely down to who you're touring with. It's not the music. It's never the music for me, because obviously, when you're playing the same show every night, what the music is the same. That's a given. What changes and what makes it special is that you see different faces smiling every night. So you're getting to bring it to new people. So the fact that you're playing the same notes, that's a non-argument for me. If someone's not happy with that, they're probably then they shouldn't be a touring musician, because the joy is in seeing new faces, not new notes. For me, yeah, when I've been touring with dudes where we're not getting along, and I've done plenty of them, I've done long tours in tour buses through Europe and stuff for like 3-4 months, where no one got along, and those things are horrid. And when that ends, you are so glad to get back home. But then I've done, long tours where, I was in the States with Colin Hay and Men at Work for over 6 months, and that finishes, and you're almost like, oh, are we done already? Because everyone gets along and the tour is smooth. So for me, it's about the people. And there was another question in there you had too, Andrew. What was that? I forget. There was something else right at the end. It's escaping me. It's all right. If I remember it, I'll jump back in. Yeah. But for me, it's about the people, and that's why, maybe even with Van Halen, like bringing it back to what we're talking about here, you can almost tell, can't you, in the various bootlegs and live concerts and stuff, like it is very clear to me when you watch Live Without a Net that is the start of a bromance. That is a honeymoon of there is an exuberance and a passion and an enthusiasm in that I don't even know if I've almost ever seen that in any band's live music video ever. Like, if anyone can tell me a video that has more joy and passion in it than that, and more smiles, please let me know, because I'd love to see it. But I can't think of anything that I've seen that has more than that video. And I guess that's my point, is like all the other videos right here, right now, the Tokyo show, even you go back to the Roth stuff and the bootlegs, the US Festival. The US Festival has sort of joy and exuberance, but it has a lot of sideways looks between the band members too. And you can tell, Mikey's lead is unplugging and he's throwing his bass at his tech, and then Eddie's tripping over his own lead and he's sort of going, and the Roth's not remembering any of the words. You can tell like they're having fun, but they're so tainted that there's issues. Whereas Live Without a Net, to me, and I'm sorry, I know that this is not the topic of today, but I'm just sort of using it as a comparison, is the perfect storm. Fine, bro. Yeah, okay. Is Live Without a Net, to me, is the perfect storm of incredible musicianship from all four of them. Joy and passion because they're excited about these new songs and this new sound with all the extra synths and a new singer, and still an incredible live performance where they're jumping around and Sammy's climbing up on the lighting rig, in the top of the building, and like, to me, there's a boyishness about it, and yet the music is unfaultable. Complete. I don't know if that's a word, but you know what I mean, right? It's the music is so good, and yet they're all having fun. So to me, it's the perfect mix of party atmosphere, but musicality. And the other shows, the Roth stuff that I've seen from before the bootlegs, is all about the party and maybe a bit less about the musicality, which is fine. And the other stuff later with Sammy, I feel like that party thing is kind of gone. The songs are well played and well sung, but I just don't get that that like we're 16-year-old teenagers running around. I don't get that from it, you know. And
Right.
and for me personally, that's a really massive part of what Van Halen were, is that exuberance and the party thing. It wasn't just how good the music was, you know.
Well, I'm joining a couple of dots together, guys, and I want to share the connections that I think that I've made, which aren't unique, obviously. But look at this album cover. You know, it's you know, obviously a dark album cover. The music in here is a lot more mature from 5150. And then we've got this gig that we're just talking about, this 89 gig where we agree that Eddie is playing and looking a little bit more different, more suited to this album cover. So what I'd like to see, if they ever reproduce or reissue this or remaster this, Chris, I'd love to see them get this video that we've talked about, clean that video up, and include that video in this package. And I think it would be a perfect combination of 89 Van Halen.
Yeah, maybe that'll be a thing in the future, and then we'll see all these Van Halen remasters come out with like super duper goodies, you know. So you said clean up the video. So I've been watching this obviously on YouTube. I just thought the versions I was watching on YouTube were just the versions. So there is not a real, because it's pro shot, right? Is it not super clean though?
Oh, well, you know, clean it up for a DVD or for a digital, you know, for a digital download. Yeah.
I beg your pardon. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then include the Honolulu show. That'd be good. So what? So where are we in timeline here? So if you got that, this is, you said it. So this is the end of the touring cycle, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Towards the end of the tour.
So none of us like being geeky about guitars, and that's not really a thing, right? So, but I want to know this, and I don't know if anyone in the chat group or Sir Hoss can help here. So, what amps is Ed playing through?
Sorry, what's that, Chris? So
I know, because we all know the famous thing how Ed's Marshall was starting to, you know, he was searching around a little bit after this. Is that, would we, in our own estimation here in the 2022, imagine that's maybe still, do we know, is that a year or two away from him searching out new amps?
Yeah, I don't know specifically. There'll be people in the chat that 100% know the answer to that. But I would imagine it would be in that crossover period where, yes, he was not using his Plexi anymore, because my understanding is that he didn't use that. He didn't use it after OU812.
I so wanted to get into this on this, and so I'm so glad we got here.
Yeah. Didn't he go to the Soldanos?
Yeah, he tried out some Soldanos and a few different things, but my understanding was it was around that time. So yeah, you're right, Chris. I think 89 would be pretty close. Yeah, Jason.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Jason's saying on OU812 it's a Plexi. So right, so am I correct then, Jason, in saying that after OU812 is when he wasn't using the Plexi anymore?
But then Keith is saying that Ed was using Marshalls on the 88 tour, not the Plexi. He kept the Plexi off the road after the Japan trip.
So Keith is saying, so he was using Marshalls, just not his number one Plexi. Is that correct, Keith?
Kept the Plexi off the road after their first Japan trip. It was lost for months.
Yeah.
So I wonder what he's using in Japan then. You know, they probably, it's their tour, right? It's a big thing. They would have brought all their stuff over with them.
So he'd be using Marshalls.
I wonder, yeah, right. And obviously he's not using the one friggin' head. Oh, I've got my one Plexi. Just plug this one into a cab, thanks. He's got a bunch going on. Because the Soldano, when was that? Was that 1990 he when he saw them?
1990.
Yeah. I think it was about 90, yeah. The other thing is, of course, when you look at the old photos, even in the Roth era when they were touring, he had his number one Plexi, but he had like 6, 7, 8 Plexis all in a rack, like as backups. So that really, on any given live show, who knows which one he was actually using, you know? So
right, yeah. Right. I wonder if he did the whole.
Wow. Sorry, Chris, go on.
I wonder if he did like a lot of the musicians would have done. Would have got a whole bunch of them and gone through and said, like that one, I like this one, I don't want that one. You know, and found ones that just tonally worked. You know,
he would have 100% done that. He would have had a bunch of backups on tour, and they would have been labeled like 1 through to 8, probably in terms of his preference of sound. I would imagine that's what I would do.
Do you think they were modded?
I don't think they were heavily modded. No.
Yeah, because we all know the whole Jose modded my stuff was just him plugging his mate, you know, and he wasn't.
You know, there might have been like tiny tweaks or like things like my understanding is, you know, rebiasing and replacement of tubes and all that wear and tear stuff. Everything I've ever read and heard, though, is that his unbelievable number 1 plexi was essentially just a number 1 plexi.
Yeah, same. The thing. Did you see the thing of Mike Soldano talking about it? And he said he had it and he went through it because he had it, you know. And the only difference was the mid pot was had a higher mid pot that was installed on the day from the Marshall factory. Just the pot that was put in the mids. Do you remember that? Yeah.
And also I've heard Dave Friedman on Tone talk about how he's had Ed's number 1 plexi on his bench a few times, and he said it's essentially stock.
Yeah, stock one. It's like on a side note, I know from like
thank you, Jason.
The Kerry King when he had a Marshall signature come out. You see when that one he had his number one JCM 800 that he had taken into Marshall to look at and they said that was stock. They said it was one of the most stock 800s they'd ever seen. So it's interesting that, you know, Marshall's Marshall, yum, 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 yum. And it looks like the best Marshalls are the ones that are completely stock. The more stock, the more yummy.
Hey, so thanks for putting that.
That's right.
Those comments up, Andrew. So, Jason, can you tell me with the different mid pot, is the 50K one adding more mids, or is it taking some mids away from the standard? More mids. More.
I think it was in the Friedman, the Dave Friedman one. He said it's not too much. I think that's in his one. He put the chart up, like the EQ chart, and it's just a little bit above.
Well, he did that as well. So, and I can confirm, even in my own, you know, when I've been like getting my sounds together for this show and being with the records, it's a very surprising how much mid frequencies are in Ed's tone. And maybe that goes to also why people talk about it as the brown sound, because it has all these mid range in it that a lot of rock tones do not have. Their scoop, their smiley face EQs, you know. Ed's is not. In fact, I've had to, with my Friedman Buxom boost pedal to put in the front end, which is, as you know, like what I'm sort of replicating as Ed's 10-band graphic EQ thing. I have got the bass off. I've got even a bass cut wound in. I've got the treble off, and I've got the mids fully cranked. And even then, when I compare it to like this Unchained, the start of Unchained or Mean Street or something like that, Ed's tone has way more mids, even when I've got mids cranked in a pedal in the front of it. So
did you say you turned the bass down?
Down, way down. Yeah. And honestly, and I've got my SM57 mic right near the center of the cone. In other words, the most trebly spot where it shouldn't pick up much bass, and I've still got to wind the bass out. It's crazy. And all that tells you is that I think a big part of that gorgeous warm sound we all know and love is mid-range. He's just it was just cranked up mid-range. And that doesn't surprise me then that Jason was saying that the mid pot was changed to a 50K. So
that was apparently stocked in the factory though. That was just a random whoever soldered it in on the day. Apparently that was just out of the factory like that. It wasn't done on purpose. That was just apparently when Mike or Dave went through the amp and looked at it, they said that it was from back. It wasn't something added in later on. They said it was something that came out when it was put together.
And thank you, Jason. Yeah, he's saying that because the EQ in a plexi is passive, the 50K mid pot makes the EQ less lossy.
Right.
So, Jason, explain to me, what do you mean exactly like less lossy? If you can explain that, that'd be great. I'm very curious. But all these things, they're all
just want
like
to come on.
they're 1%, 1%, 1%. All these things are 1% of the secret sauce, but really 95% of it is just Ed's pick in his hands, because
of course.
yeah, because you could probably plug Ed into a Fender Hot Rod DeVille with a super overdrive, and he would sound like Ed, So yeah,
it's interesting when you pulled the bass down and the mids up, because there's a lot of, from being a guitar geek like the rest of us, there's a lot of like you've learned stuff over the years, and how that the mid is where we all know that mid's where the guitar's supposed to be. Like I've got a Warren DiMartini interview from like a Guitar World from like '86, and his amp is like the mids on, the bass is on 0, and I discovered in my own caveman barbaric world of like one of my amps is a 900. Marshall 900, and it's an EL34 one, and it's a really early one, but it's that classic, it sounds like crap, put it in a band mix of a drummer and a bassist, and it sits in the mix. It's that mid voicing, and it really comes through that throaty, I'm here, my guitar tone is nicely sitting in there. Rambling off on a tangent.
No, all good. And Jason's saying, right, so let a Lossy with a 50K pot there, more signal, so it's more gainy essentially by changing out the mid pot. You get more gain, which makes sense because a dimed plexi is not crazy gainy, which is obviously why Ed used the Echoplex preamp as a bit of a boost in the front end, and also his 10-band graphic he used as a boost. So all those things give you more gain essentially, So, and that's all I'm using the Friedman for is just a bit more gain in the front end. But it's obviously the pedal itself doesn't have distortion. It's just that I'm pushing the front end of the amp.
Which is a classic thing that they were doing back in those times of EQ pedals, right?
That's exactly right. Treble boosters, EQ pedals, all that stuff. Yeah, they were just pushing the front end of the amp, So, yeah. Very interesting things. I feel like I'm going to have to try that, swapping out that mid pot, though. I think that would be very interesting, actually.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear that.
Jason, how would that work on a Marshall Blues Breaker?
Pretty nicely.
Just for the sake of doing it. And all I do on my Marshall Blues Breaker is just play British electric blues kind of stuff, that Clapton, Beano, and a bit of Fleetwood Mac stuff. How would that work?
Pretty good, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Especially if you're getting that whole, because what you're going through obviously is that power stage saturation and niceness, and so surely this is going to make it less lossy, as Jason says.
Yeah. Because here's the thing that in case it's not obvious to people too, because Ed was always diming his amp, his plexi, and everything's on 10.
Oh, yep.
It doesn't give you any ability to shape the EQ after that.
Yeah.
That's it. That's your tone. And so the only other ways you can do it is a pedal in the front end, or probably on the mixing desk in the recording studio, they would have done some shaping as well,
Okay.
So
well, isn't the truth of EQ that you can only take away EQ? You can't add EQ. Like, so if everything's on 10, you know what I mean? Like, so if you've got an amp that's not very trebly, you can't add more treble and put that treble there because it's not there to begin with. So if he has everything on 10, then you can shape the EQ that way. That's the actual way your EQ actually kind of works.
I've actually found too that when you dime a plexi, there's a lot of high frequencies around 5K and above that are a little bit harsh and a bit not so pleasant to the ear. But what happens is if you try and take those out of the amp or the EQ pedal that goes into the front end of the amp, your attack of all the notes completely sponges out and changes in a way that's bad. So what I think probably happened, and if you listen to any of the live bootlegs and stuff from the Roth era, especially, Eddie's sound is very brittle and bright, isn't it? It's very scratchy and bright. And that's because I think in the studio, I think Ed had to have the a lot of brightness going into the amp, so you get the right attack and the transient on the note, and then Don Landy on the desk would have taken that treble out, because the most authentic. Actually, if you want to go on my YouTube channel, you can hear me fooling around with the Live Without a Net solo. And I had to pull out so much treble from that mix to get it to sound like Live Without a Net. It was nuts. Like, basically, I shelved off everything above 5K completely. Completely. That's like a lot of top end. And then it sounded right. But if you do that from the amp, if you turn the treble and the presence down on the amp, then it's wrong, gives you the wrong transient. So it's interesting. You got to do it in post.
And also remember, not all of us are lucky enough to have a plexi that we're able to dime. So you're hearing your take on these frequencies is actually really fascinating, because there's only only a handful of the dudes out there are able to get a plexi and stick it on 10.
Oh no, I'm definitely very fortunate. I've got a Sir SL68, which, as most people would know, is John Sir's faithful recreation of a 1968 plexi. And it sounds great. So yeah, and dimed sounds crazy, but it is very bright. And that's what I'm saying, is it, because to get that sound, to get that gain, you need everything on 10. So the only way to dull it out is to do it in post, or to do it, on a mixing desk or something.
Which makes sense from someone who's not a sound engineer. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it makes perfect sense, because it's the way the signal is, I guess, going through the components in the amp that keeps your pick transient attack intact. But it's too bright for the recording. Although, of course, the Van Halen guitar sound on Van Halen 1 album was very bright. And famously, or maybe infamously, Eddie has said that he never liked that sound on the Van Halen 1 album. Too bright.
Correct.
I'd love to go back and find out. I mean, you hear that. Obviously, you liked it at the time. You reckon you just put up with that and said, okay, we're recording it. That's good. Or do you think later on, I don't like that tone? But do you think at the time, as you would, you're like, yeah, man.
Well, he never liked it, from what I understand, immediately, Hoss.
Oh.
Yeah, that's my understanding too. And I guess what you got to remember, Chris, is that it was their first album. They were young, and I'm pretty sure they were probably just told what to do by Ted Templeman and Warner Brothers and Don Landy. They were just they were young guys going in and recording their first record. So, and yeah, that's right, absolutely. The JBLs he was using as well, which are very bright speakers, and mixed in. But yeah, everything I've ever read is that Eddie never really liked that sound much, and that he had to really push hard to get Don and Ted to have the guitar sound that ended up on Van Halen 2 to be that, which is that the sound really the way we know Eddie, like organic, warm, brown, all those things, is more like Van Halen 2,
Right.
Look, I could be wrong, but everything I've ever read says that Eddie never liked his Van Halen 1 sound.
I mean,
Same here. Same here.
So we all knew that, but I didn't know whether that was an immediate thing, or that say Van Halen 2, he's like, I don't like that tone anymore.
And also we know and we also know the issue that he had to also with the way that it was engineered with the different with the way it was mixed because of the car speaker that he was traveling in, so he couldn't hear the guitar.
Oh,
Right. So that became an issue for him as well, so that he wanted to make sure that you could hear the guitar through both channels, as I understand it.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the way that I've read it as well. Yeah.
Interesting that you guys mentioned that, because I think we're going to debate this for a long, long time, because, again, Chris, I never knew for years that Van Halen 1 was a tone that Eddie, was critical of. For me, for years, it was the go-to tone, Hoss.
Yeah.
Brandon, it was the tone that everything else was measured by. And then we sort of find out through information a little bit later on, it's like, oh, okay.
Well, we still do it. It's the bomb album, that's we all like, oh, I like this album. I like carnal knowledge or like, oh, you wait 1-2, I like, that's like, bang, the first Van Halen album's like, hello, come on. Everyone knows it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's absolutely fascinating.
Awesome, guys. Look, we've been streaming for 2 hours. I'm going to remind you guys that we have a lot of shows coming up. Please go to the channel and have a look when Hoss gives me some information about him and when we can go live with his wet rig. We'll put that up. But please go and have a look at the shows we've got lined up. Can't wait. Hoss, we can't wait for the Corner Bar gig. We can't wait. It's going to be a celebration. It's a Southern Hemisphere tribute, bro. I'm putting more weight on your shoulders, bro. It's not a Victorian thing. It's not an Australian thing that you're doing. It's a Southern Hemisphere thing, bro. Do us proud.
All right, Southern Hemisphere. I'll buy that. So yeah, you're just making me more nervous, but that's all right, no problem. No, it's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, it's been a long time coming. All the boys, we're actually got our final rehearsals coming up this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'll be with Jerry and Jason. I'll definitely do, some posts, and Andrew will talk about if we can do some live things, perhaps, outside of our regular show times, and involve people a little bit in behind the scenes and how it's sounding and how the rehearsals are coming along. But yeah, look, it's going to be great to finally do this show. Of course, initially it was put together for when Ed passed. It was going to be like a memorial concert, and then it got rescheduled to his birthday, so it was going to be a birthday concert. Then it got rescheduled to Easter, so it was going to be an Easter concert, and now it's just a concert. So
well, look, bro, we can't wait, and we wish everybody the greatest success. We know it's going to be a hell of a great time. Nina's going to be there, Jerry's going to be there, Jason's going to be there. All these people have been on our channel in the past, and we look forward, maybe, bro, after a couple of weeks when you guys have settled down from all the accolades that you're going to get from it, you guys can come on and do a debrief, hang out with us for an hour and talk about some of the highlights that you guys had from the gig, and maybe some of the lowlights. Share those with us as well.
Of course, it's going to be. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of lowlights, but what do they say? As long as you don't make a big deal out of it, like physically, the audience never know. So that's the thing, So if we can keep the lowlights to ourselves, then that'll be great. No, look, you know what? We're under no illusions that there's going to be plenty of warts in this gig, so to speak. Nothing ever goes perfectly. When we did the Melbourne Guitar Show, the PA blew up. We didn't even get a sound check. And so if that happened at the corner, we'd be mortified, but it could happen. And the head could blow up, or, there's so many. Actually, Robert Ranford was asking in the chat before, like, what's my backup rig? My backup rig is actually what I used at the Melbourne Guitar Show. That's the Kemper. That's the backup rig. And so, and look, it did a good job. It's not as much fun for me personally as using like a real valve amp all cranked. There's something about the way that it glows and it's hot. There's something it feels like you're a mad scientist, like with all this electricity, And so for me, that's more fun. But the Kemper, look, it does a great job, and Top Jimmy, who did the Brown sound pack, whose profiles I use, has done an incredible job recreating those early Van Halen sounds with Variax and going the whole way. So that's the backup rig. So should the wet dry wet setup completely fail, it'll be back to the Melbourne Guitar Show Kemper.
Awesome, bro. Look, I'm going to do one quick little thing, and then I'm going to pass it over to Chris to say some final words, Braden, and then I'm going to get you, Hoss, to wrap it up with the shout out. Of course, Hoss, I want to say nice things about nice people and everybody that joins us here. It's fantastic. We love it. We had 30 people watching us. You guys are awesome. I still can't believe that we've got over 2,000 subs on our channel. I can't believe the work that everyone's done by sharing our channel on social media. Hoss, thank you for the nice words that you said about Dave Nesdale earlier at the top of the show. Genuine. He's a giant. He's a tree in our forest that's fallen, and the earth has been shaken by this giant tree. And we'll be talking about Dave Nesdale for a long, long time. I want to do a special little thank you and a shout out to our brother Brad. Our channel grew when Brad came on. Hoss, I've got to tell you that, when Simon and I were doing, weekly shows, we were plodding along. When Brad came on, it went up to another level. And I'll never forget that, So we want him to get well and better come back here and hang out with us. I've spoken enough. Chris.
No, I'm just I want Brad back, man. Hopefully, I don't even know if he's still watching, but hopefully, yeah, he's okay and he's coming back. Of course he's going. Well, hang on. Of course he's coming back. That's kind of a bit dumb, but hopefully he's doing well, and really looking forward to seeing him back again soon. Yeah. That'd be pretty good. More than pretty good. It'd be fantastic. I was trying to get him in. And a big thing, so I could ask him how he did, but I couldn't do it. So it's like the world's getting those coming on. Braden, how you doing? How's it going? What time is it over there?
Doing pretty good.
Connection.
I just want to say, I just want to thank Andrew for the show and talking. And always wanted to be in a community, gear him like that, and I really appreciate y'all. And
thanks, Brad.
Let me.
Yeah.
No problem, bro. When you get your connection fixed a little bit better, come back and spend another show with us, Brandon. Come back and join us, and in the future, we'd love to get you back. I know that you haven't spoken a lot on this show, but we'll get you back. We'll get you back. We promise. Hoss.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. It's been fun, and I'll do some shout outs. There's been a bunch of people that have joined in the chat since we started the show. We've got Gecko Lover, Charlie S, Greg Roberts, Mike Rogers, G. Booknoff, which is Greg, and if I'm pronouncing your surname right, Booknoff, you can tell me if I'm not, of course. Holly Lewis, Kurt 5150, Grant Fisher, Pete PJT, Garrett Borg, Thomas Santiago, if you're still there, Sandra, who has left us, but thank you, Sandra, for joining in. The legendary Jason Tong, and I will say again, if anyone is into their amps and curious, check out Head First Amplification. Jason Tong's amps, unbelievable. Guitar Man 45, Nina Ferro, of course, one of the singers of the Corner Hotel show. And you can see Nina sing on my YouTube channel in the promo. Greg Brown, Nelson Rodriguez, Dan of New Jersey, Gretch Zeppelin, Stevie O, Charmaine in the UK at Crazy O'Clock, Fruitcake Tony, the illustrious John ZD, who's going to be lifting all my equipment for me in a couple of days. Just kidding, not really. Polly Walnuts, Keith Campbell, Helene, happy birthday, Helene, Teresa, Johnny Bean, Hey Now, Robert Ranford, Mikey Mojo, the ever-present Mikey Mojo. Thank you for all the Insta messages. And Tim Thomas. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. It's been really fun.
Awesome, guys. We're going to cruise. We're going to wish you well. We're going to be back on here tomorrow with the Rock Professor talking about a British electric blues band called Juicy Lucy that released a couple of albums in the late 1960s. Check them out. Interesting music. They took Cream on, a hidden golden nugget. We're out of here, guys. I'm going to play Brad again. I'm going to play Brad again, guys, because we got to do it.
Yeah, got it. Get well, Brad.
Yeah.